What is up, guys? We are back again today. This time we are discussing the topic of whether or not energy drinks are good or bad for you. Okay, and this is a bit of a strange question because depending on who you ask or who you are as an individual in this whole health and fitness sphere, or perhaps not even in it, you will likely get a different answer. Okay, you could fall into the camp of I only eat natural whole foods and nothing even mildly in any way processed passes these lips. You could also be in the proper IFYM camp, if it fits your macros, and you literally only eat processed food and just aim to hit your caloric and macronutrient needs, right? You could also be in the gen pop, the general population, and kind of be a little bit lost to whether energy drinks are good or bad. You heard from your mother, perhaps you're like, oh, she says don't drink those things. You heard from someone else, it's like maybe your football coach is like, yeah, they're great. You don't really know what the answer is, right? And this is what we're going to kind of get into a little bit today. But the first thing is, and this applies to any of the questions you will likely ask, likely encounter with regard to whether or not whatever food, whatever drink, whatever, anything that you can consume related to the health and fitness stuff, what you have to look at, or what you have to actually answer before you answer that question is, what are your definitive metrics, right? So if you're saying, oh, are energy drinks good or bad? For what? Like what are you actually good or bad for? What? Like, are we talking about health, body composition, performance, like fitness? What are we actually talking about here? And perhaps even when are we talking about? Like, are you saying like an energy drink, right before you go to bed? Is that good or bad? Because obviously that's going to be a different answer than, when you wake up or before the gym or whatever, So you have to be very clear in the metrics you are looking to measure a certain food stuff against or into, so you have to define your metrics, right? So in the context of this energy drink stuff, most people are talking about health, right? Because they kind of know, oh yeah, caffeine does stuff for performance, that we're not really questioning that side of things. We know that caffeine helps with performance, so presumably energy drinks also somewhat help with performance, whether that's mental performance in your day-to-day life or in the gym, right? So that's not really what we're talking about here. Generally what people are talking about is health and perhaps even body composition. And again, this is where you really have to be clear in what you are talking about specifically, because are we talking about energy drinks that have calories in them, or are we talking about energy drinks that are 0 calories, right? Because if we're talking about the energy drinks that have calories in them, usually in the form of sugar, and that's obviously a different discussion we have to have, because then you have to discuss the overall context of the diet. You also have to discuss whether for this individual a higher intake of sugar is beneficial or detrimental to their health, body composition, performance, all those other metrics, right? So you have to be very clear in what you are actually measuring that food item against, So with regard to energy drinks, in this article that we have written there, we kind of discussed the more so calorie-free energy drinks, because the topic of having extra calories in the diet just leads to a huge other argument. And this is where you'll see a lot of people look at research, look at studies and go, oh, energy drinks are bad. But you look at what they actually measured in the study, and it's like, yeah, okay, these people were drinking more calories, and especially from sugar. So they're more likely to have a higher intake of calories overall. And it's like, are you actually measuring the health metrics as a result of having a higher caloric diet over time, or are you measuring the actual effects of this energy drink? So it's a little bit easier to kind of go, let's look at the calorie-free energy drink first, and then extrapolate arguments from that, because then you can add in the variable of extra calories from sugar, right? So I went through all of the different ingredients in a white Monster, right? And in the article, I kind of went through like, is this good or bad? And again, with all this stuff, you can make an argument whether something is good or bad. You can find research to support either point. You know, you can be like, oh well, in this very specific context, this thing is a bad nutrient, or this is a detrimental nutrient, right? And this is the problem with trying to find an answer, because I don't think most people, like obviously some people are, but I don't think most people are going to look for answers to a question and are just looking to have their bias confirmed. Like obviously we all are to some extent looking to have our bias confirmed, being like, yes, I was right about that. But most people, especially if you're just in the general population, you literally just want to know what to do. You know, if it says energy drinks are good, energy drinks are bad, you literally just want to know. You don't have the time to be reading all the research. You don't have the time to be, you know, spending 4 hours per day looking through all the literature, talking to experts, whatever, to find out whether or not you should be drinking a can of Monster or whatever, you know? So you just want the answers. And I think that's most people. Like obviously there are people that just purely want their bias confirmed, and they're always going to skew the conversation and make it an extreme conversation, either side, saying like you shouldn't or you should, you know? So I went through all the ingredients, went through some of the detrimental effects, went through some of the positive effects, kind of ranked them whether they were positive, neutral, or detrimental. And overall, the literature would suggest that energy drinks, when you look at the ingredients on a per ingredient basis, that there's not really anything wrong with energy drinks, especially the 0-calorie energy drinks. Now, there are obviously potential issues, especially because you have to then take into account the context of the overall diet. Like, are these energy drinks replacing something else that would be more beneficial to the diet? Are these energy drinks, you know, being used as a crutch to get over the fact that you have shit sleep, or you aren't recovering well at all, and you're literally just using that as a crutch? Because then again, the argument would be like, okay, well, this is facilitating a poor relationship, or poor human, if that makes sense. So you have to take the whole overall context. But if we look at the individual ingredients in an energy drink, and we crouch that with the perspective that you are eating generally a whole foods diet, you are eating, you know, 90% of your food is coming from, you know, food from the ground, meat, vegetables, whatever. I just don't see a huge issue with energy drinks, right? Now, again, you have to crouch that in the context that you are doing most things right. Because as I talked in the article as well, like if you're worried about energy drinks and you're going, oh, should I drink them or should I not? And you're not looking to eat a calorie appropriate diet. You're not looking to, you know, look after your sleep, look after your stress. You're not doing the big picture things, and you're looking at this one tiny variable and going, if I have to drink energy drinks, you know, the diet is fucked, my lifestyle is fucked, so, you know, I can't do anything. So if you're majoring in the minors, then you need to take a step back and do the big picture stuff before you even consider, you know, looking into answering this question, right? However, in the context of you having all those things checked off, like tick the boxes with those, then I don't see a huge issue with having energy drinks. Now, the argument is, should you be having energy drinks every day, you know? And I also don't think that would be a good idea. Like, I don't think that you should, first of all, have to rely on these energy drinks, you know? So if you're like, I need caffeine to go train, like I need that, or I need caffeine, I need these energy drinks to get through my day, then I would be addressing those issues, because that would then suggest to me that you don't actually have these big picture things locked down. Because even though they are called energy drinks, they're not actually giving you energy. They're giving you this false sense that you're not tired. Okay, like you are actually tired, but you're tricking your body into thinking that it's not tired. Now, there are some kind of adaptogens in some of these energy drinks, so that's not entirely true, and I'm being a little bit, you know, hyperbolic by saying that. But in a sense, you're basically taking caffeine to kind of trick your body into thinking, yeah, I'm actually not tired, you know, whereas you actually have low energy. And again, this would then start ringing alarm bells in my head going, okay, well, obviously recovery isn't in a good position. Obviously stress management isn't in a good position. Obviously, your overall calories and diet isn't in a good position. Like if you need energy, like you get energy from your food. That's where you're actually getting energy. Like an energy drink, it's not giving you energy. So if you're feeling tired, you're feeling like crap, and you need these energy drinks to get through the day, then you're not looking after the big picture things. However, at the other side of it, if you were just like, yeah, like I wouldn't mind having something a little bit tastier, and I'm going on a long drive or something, and I'd probably need like a coffee or something to kind of keep me more mentally awake while you're literally on a road for 7 hours or whatever. Like I see no issue with having an energy drink, right? So you have to look at both the context of your overall lifestyle, diet, all those things, and you also have to look at the context of like why am I actually using this energy drink? Is it for a particular benefit in the short term, transiently, or is it a particular benefit in the long term, the chronic consumption of it? And honestly, I don't think that most people need to, or rather should need to, consume energy drinks every single day, especially considering that if it is just the caffeine you're looking for, I would probably err on the side of having coffee, right? Because everyone likes to go on like, oh, these energy drinks have so much caffeine in them, but when you actually look at like a can of it, there's less caffeine in it than like a strong cup of coffee, so it's like, why is there this disconnect where you're like, yeah, of course I'll go into Starbucks or whatever and get their just an Americano, and it's like that actually has more caffeine in it than a can of Monster. So why is there this disconnect? So if you are looking to have a bit of a pick me up, I probably would stick with coffee, because again, they're like, even though it's a bit of a bad argument for the standard American diet, like coffee is one of the largest sources of antioxidants in the standard American diet. So like it is a source of antioxidants, it is a source of beneficial compounds, just like to an extent energy drinks are. But again, people I know like to be like, oh well, this is natural. So I generally would steer towards more so having like coffee rather than having a can of whatever energy drink, right? But again, I don't think that means that energy drinks are bad in the short term. If you just have one energy drink, you're just like, yeah, I actually wouldn't mind having this. I need a little bit of a shot of caffeine injected into my day because I've got tough deadlines, whatever else. But if you are doing that every single day, then I would be looking at the other metrics of your life. Like if it is a very stressful period of time and you're going, look, I just need to have something that gives me that little bit of a pick me up and gets me through this week of just complete stress, and then I'm just going to detox from having any caffeine in my diet for the next week, 2 weeks, and maybe I'm going to prioritize sleep a little bit more, then yeah, like I don't see an issue with having a can of an energy drink or whatever like daily then, and then obviously you're going to do like that kind of detox from it. But the only thing that I can see in this that would potentially be an issue is the artificial sweeteners, flavorings, that kind of stuff. And you can look at the research, and that would be the one thing in it that I'd be like, like it's probably not good. Again, in that chronic, like if you're having a can or whatever daily, like I don't think it's good that chronic intake of those. It's not too much of an issue, but it does become an issue if you're having 4, 5, 6, 20 cans per day, right? So again, like the poison is in the dose, so you do have to be aware of that. Like you don't want to, like the minute amount of these sweeteners, flavorings, or whatever in it probably isn't going to be a big issue. Like I can't say that conclusively because there is quite a lot of research on it. There's not like a lot of research that I'd be like, yeah, no, 100% there's zero issue with those. Like I can say with 99% confidence that I'm like, yeah, there's zero issue. And occasionally, like I personally would have a drink of an energy drink, again, context specifically, like I wouldn't be having it every day before the gym or whatever. So you do have to put the context in your overall lifestyle. You have to put context in why you're using it, and then you have to look at the long and short term risks associated with having, you know, artificial flavorings and sweeteners or whatever in your diet. But again, it comes back to the big picture thing. If you're worried about those minute amount of whatever flavorings and you're literally in 1,000 calorie surplus every day for the last 20 years, like, again, you're majoring in the minors. You need to take a step back and go, okay, so am I getting all the big picture things done first before I kind of focus on this small thing that can be corrected, right? So again, you do have to bring context and nuance to the conversation. But as a kind of wrap up, I don't see any issue with the occasional use of energy drinks. However, if you are having one every single day, if you are relying on one or two or three or whatever every single day, then you probably need to take a step back, look at the big picture and go, why do I need to rely on this? Why do I need to have this in my life? And again, that could even be from the perspective of, you know, you have all this big picture stuff locked down, but you need an energy drink before you go to the gym. You know, you're like, oh, I need to have one. And again, like, there is obviously that ritualistic kind of thing where you're kind of like getting in the mind frame, you're sipping on your energy drink as you do your warm up or before the gym or whatever it is. That's fine. Like, obviously everyone has these little rituals that they go into, but again, I would be looking at why I need to have that locked in before I could even work out. You know, like, you need to be looking at the long term and the short term and looking at, okay, well, is the need to have one of these beneficial long term, short term? Like, do you see yourself as a 60-year-old going like, yeah, I need to have a can of whatever energy drink before I go to the gym? And I'm like, okay, well, that's probably not what most 60-year-olds, you see most 60-year-olds or see yourself as a 60-year-old doing. So you have to take that into account. The other argument, which I forgot to mention, is the argument around sleep. And again, obviously that is a huge one. Like, it has caffeine in it, so if you're knocking back 2 or 3 cans of whatever energy drink and it's 7 o'clock at night, then you're probably going to be in for a rough ride with sleep, you know? So again, it has to be context specific. You have to look at why you are drinking it, why you wouldn't, or why you do need it if you do need it, and then look at whether or not that is a sustainable long-term solution to the problems you are facing. Like, if you need it, like, why aren't you sorting out your diet? Why aren't you sorting out your sleep? Why aren't you sorting out your stress before you're just reaching for this can or this shot or whatever to kind of get you through? Like, you're basically just self-medicating, right? And again, in certain circumstances, that might be fine. Like, again, you have a really rough deadline on a Friday and you're like, I need to just knuckle down, and I know having a can of whatever allows me to do that for the next 5 days. Then again, like, you have to weigh the pros and cons of that. But again, it has to be an informed choice. So I did go through the different ingredients. If you want to read the article, you can see them all there. Obviously different drinks are different, have different ingredients, but that kind of gives you a general overview of those different ingredients.